The October wind whipped hard across Crystal Lake, carrying the scent of dying leaves and the promise of a long, cold winter ahead. The water had turned that deep slate grey, that color it gets when the frost starts to creep in, and delicate ice crystals were already lacing the muddy shoreline. An old, forgotten fishing pier groaned and creaked with every gust of wind, its weathered planks whispering tales of summers long past. Somewhere across the water, a lone crow cawed 3 times, its cry echoing against the bare trees like a warning ignored. Billy Ray Johnson sat perched on the edge of that pier, his legs dangling over the frigid water, watching the ripples dance in the wind. 12 years old, with Down syndrome and a smile that could melt a glacier, Billy Ray saw the world in a way most folks just couldn't. Colors were brighter to him, sounds held deeper meaning, and animals. Well, animals were his best buddies in a world where other kids didn't always know how to talk to him. His mom, Martha, worked double shifts waitressing at the local diner, just to keep the lights on in their little place on Oak Street. His dad had taken off when Billy Ray was just a toddler, couldn't handle the responsibility, he'd said. But Billy Ray never saw himself as a burden. He was just Billy Ray, and that was more than enough. Now, before we get too far into this story, if you believe in the power of kindness, in second chances, and standing up for what's right, then make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this, they remind us that humanity still flickers in every corner of the world, and sometimes it shines brightest in the hearts that others tend to overlook. Billy Ray heard the splashing before he saw it, a frantic, desperate sound, coming from maybe 30 feet out, where the water took a sudden plunge. He stood up on the pier, squinting against the grey afternoon light, and his heart nearly stopped. A dog was drowning. A big German shepherd, thrashing and yelping, its thick fur dragging it down every time it tried to swim. The poor pup had probably chased something onto the thin ice that had formed out near the center of the lake, and now it was paying the price. Its brown eyes were wide with terror, and its whimpers sliced through the cold air like shards of glass. Billy Ray didn't think. He didn't worry about the temperature of the water, or remember that he wasn't the strongest swimmer. He didn't consider that his mom had warned him 1,000,000 times never to go near the lake alone. All he saw was a friend in trouble. He jumped. The cold slammed into him like 1,000 tiny knives. His breath whooshed out of his lungs, and for a moment, everything went white. But Billy Ray kept moving, his arms windmilling through the icy water, his eyes locked on the struggling dog. It took him almost 2 minutes to reach the animal, 2 minutes that felt like a lifetime. And when he finally grabbed onto the shepherd's collar, the dog was barely moving at all. Billy Ray turned toward the shore and started to kick. His legs were going numb fast. His arms felt like they were made of lead. But he kicked, and he pulled, and he whispered to the dog that everything was going to be okay, that they were going to make it, that he wouldn't let go. And he didn't let go. Not once. When Billy Ray finally dragged the German shepherd onto the muddy bank, he collapsed beside it, both of them shivering uncontrollably, steam rising from their soaked bodies. The dog turned its massive head and licked Billy Ray's face, once, twice, 3 times, and Billy Ray laughed. Despite the cold, despite the fear, despite everything, he laughed. He didn't know that the dog's name was Duke. He didn't know that Duke belonged to Jake the Hammer Thompson, president of the local Hells Angels chapter, a man who had ridden with the club for 32 years and loved that dog more than most people loved anything. He didn't know that Jake had been searching frantically for Duke since the dog had bolted from his truck that morning. All Billy Ray knew was that he had saved a friend. 1 week later, the rumble started. Martha Johnson was in the kitchen, whipping up a batch of meatloaf for dinner, when she heard it. A sound like distant thunder, except the sky was clear blue. It grew louder, deeper, until the windows started to rattle in their frames. She rushed to the front door and felt her blood run cold. Motorcycles were coming down Oak Street. Big ones, the kind that made the ground tremble. And they weren't stopping. 10, 20, 50. More than she could possibly count. Harleys of every color imaginable, chrome gleaming in the afternoon sun, and every single one of them was pulling into her driveway, onto her lawn, surrounding her little house in a circle of leather and steel. 200 Hells Angels had descended on Oak Street. Martha grabbed Billy Ray and pulled him behind her, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. But Billy Ray wasn't scared. He was pointing at something, at someone. A huge man dismounted from a custom black Harley and walked toward them. He had arms like oak trees and tattoos snaking up his neck, and his leather vest was covered in patches that Martha recognized from the news. But walking beside him, tail wagging so hard its whole body shook, was a German shepherd, Duke, Jake the Hammer. Thompson stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. His voice was deep, rough as gravel, but there was something else in it. Something that sounded almost like reverence. "Your boy saved my dog's life," Jake said. "Jumped into freezing water without a second thought. Could have died. Duke would have died for sure without him." He paused, and his storm-gray eyes gleamed. "Our family doesn't forget something like that." Martha felt Billy Ray squeeze past her, and before she could stop him, he was running down the steps toward Duke. The dog met him halfway, and they tumbled together on the lawn, the boy laughing, the dog barking. Two friends, reunited. Jake watched them for a moment, then turned back to Martha. He pulled an envelope from his vest. "This is from every chapter in the Northeast," he said. $50,000 for Billy Ray's education, for whatever he needs, because what he did, the courage he showed, that's something money can't buy, but we can make sure he never wants for anything." Martha's hands were shaking as she took the envelope. "This is too much. He just did what he thought was right." Jake nodded slowly. "That's exactly why it ain't too much. Most folks look the other way. Your boy looked straight at danger and jumped in anyway. For a dog he didn't even know. He's braver than most men I've ridden with." The Hells Angels stayed for 2 hours. They brought groceries, enough to fill the pantry for months. They fixed the broken fence in the backyard that Martha had been saving up to repair. 3 of them spent an hour playing catch with Billy Ray, while others patched the roof that had been leaking since spring. Jake the Hammer, Thompson himself, sat right there on the porch with Martha, listening as she talked about Billy Ray. She spoke of his struggles, his triumphs, how hard it was sometimes, and how worth it always was. Before the Devil's Disciples rode off, Jake knelt down in front of Billy Ray. Duke was sitting right beside the boy, refusing to leave his side. "Billy Ray," Jake said, his rough voice now as gentle as a summer breeze, "you are one of the bravest people I have ever met. And from now on, you have 200 brothers who will always have your back." He reached into his pocket and pulled something out. It was a small, worn leather bracelet. Adorning it was a silver skull charm. You ever need anything, you show someone this, they'll know what it means. Billy Ray looked at the bracelet, then at Jake, then at Duke. A slow, spreading smile, the kind of smile that could light up the darkest room, crept across his face. Friends help friends, Billy Ray said simply. That's just what you do. The engines, they roared to life. 200 Devil's Disciples, Hell's Angels, rode out of Oak Street in perfect formation. But Duke, well, Duke didn't go with them. Jake, the Hammer Thompson, had made a decision that day. A decision that surprised even his own brothers. The dog stayed with Billy Ray. Because some bonds, Jake told Martha, his voice low, are bigger than anything, and Duke knows where he belongs. Now I gotta ask you something. What would you do if you saw someone in trouble? Would you hesitate? Would you calculate the risk? Or would you remember that sometimes the bravest thing we can do is simply jump in and help? If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And comment below with the words "pure heart" to honor Billy Ray and everyone like him who sees the world not as it is, but as it should be. Because sometimes the people society overlooks are the very ones who teach us what it truly means to be human. And a 12-year-old boy with Down syndrome just taught 200 Hell's Angels about courage. Real courage. It doesn't wear a patch. It wears a smile and jumps into freezing water to save a friend.